Good to go?
Yep, good to go.
Okay, well, welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It's hopefully a happy morning, Monday morning for everyone out there. It's Monday, August 22nd. Also happens to be my birthday today, which is kind of nice. I'm joined here with Tank. I'm not sure where everyone else is this fine Monday morning, but we're going to go ahead and do
Well, everybody's out buying you birthday presents.
I hope so. But we'll go ahead and do the show as usual, and hopefully we'll have some more stragglers come in as time goes on. We can. I want to say hi to everyone in our chat currently. It's Beavis Chamberlain, John Chamberlain, or Joe. Oh, I can't remember. I think it's Joe Chamberlain. Rover Desk, Shoot, and Tank. Of course, with me. Let's see. You can join us in our RC chat going to foolishtechshow.com or foolishit.com/live. We'd love for you to participate, hear back from you. I know we have quite a few viewers out there, but if you could just hop in on the chat and give us a way for you to give us feedback and respond to anything and to participate, and that's what we love, and that's what I think makes the show a really good thing each week. Hi, Rover. Thanks for chatting there. But if there's nothing else, we're here primarily to talk about our software and services. So if you don't want to talk about D7.2 or Crypto Prevent or anything else that we do here, D Support Suite or anything else, please just let us know, and we'll be happy to stop and focus on that. Please don't feel bad about interrupting. It's not a very formal show, so no worries there. But if not, I'll go ahead and talk about some foolish tech news and current events and anything else that I find interesting. Tank, man, how was your weekend, buddy?
Not bad.
That's good. Did it rain up where you were? It was a little bit rainy going into the weekend, but it stayed pretty dry for the most of it.
Hot in the day and rainy at night. That's how it's been.
Gotcha. I did manage to get in. Alarm going off. But I did manage to get in a round of mowing yesterday, which was really nice because I was long overdue for it. I did some traveling the previous weekend, so I had missed out on that, but got that caught up, so that's good. Let's see, I unfortunately didn't do a lot of link prep for the show, so I'm going to have to search for a few things, and you're probably going to hear a few extra from me. Let's see what we got. Boring Monday. Um, so I mentioned this on Friday a bit, but Microsoft's going to their new cumulative Windows update schedule where they won't have as many individual updates, only in a dire need. They'll have more cumulative updates similar to the way that Windows 10 updates have been coming out. There's been very few single Windows 10 updates and a lot of cumulative ones, and that's what Microsoft has decided they're going to do with Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 as well. I have a link towards that, which I thought is important for everyone to know. Um, and I don't even know if they're going to offer the individual patches, so you'll kind of be forced to do the cumulative ones. What do you guys think about that? Because that's a little bit disturbing to me. As you guys know, I'm privacy concerned and a little bit paranoid at times. But to give you a heads up, excuse me for that. But basically, I pick and choose my patches, and I only put the ones on typically my boxes that I deem necessary or desirable. And there have oftentimes been patches released in the past that have caused some some unwanted side effects, or even patches that are altogether to completely unwanted because of, again, privacy or you know just concerns over being monitored. You don't have a choice moving forward with this. It would seem. It would seem that if they wanted to push a patch or something on you that allow them to do more monitoring or allow them to compromise your privacy or security or cause some instability, you'd be forced to get that patch along with the cumulative update. And if you need something to fix a problem that they had as part of their cumulative update, you couldn't get that individually, and you'd be forced to put everything else in it. That sounds like bloat. That sounds like an area of abuse. It sounds like the same thing I criticized Verizon with, and the same thing they've been criticized with recently for bundling third-party apps and unwanted, PUBs type software onto the computers without any sort of consumer agreement to that. And if anything, at best, it's an out policy, not an opt-in policy for it. But in most cases, you can't even opt out. You're forced. You can't. There's no way to uninstall or to otherwise get rid of those preloaded pieces of software. But as any security researcher knows, the more pieces of software you have on your system, typically, that particularly the ones that are network enabled, that can communicate over the network, that's a larger footprint, a larger area of attack that you're exposed to. So I'm very concerned about that. Oh, and look at me. I'm probably ignoring the chat a little bit. Let's see. Let's catch up with that. Oh, Rover. Shit. Rover says my volume's low on speaker, but that would make sense since my microphone was above my head. But since you guys are probably used to me yelling, maybe that was a pleasant change for you. Sorry about that.
I just thought you were talking at normal people levels for a change.
Yay, Eric, thanks for joining us so early on this fine Monday morning. At least I'd like to believe it's fine. Okay, so Eric has an issue. Hey, I have an AMD ATI driver issue and was wondering if anyone has advice on how to deal with it. Basically, my personal MSI laptop decided that it didn't care for Windows 10 anymore. I have a lot of AMD graphics cards, so Eric, I'm pretty well up to date on their driver issues. Can you elaborate a bit more? What actually you need help with? So it doesn't care for Windows 10 anymore. Now, I'm assuming you were able to boot into it some way, correct? I'm guessing there was maybe you had an update or an anniversary update, and there was an issue, a driver issue. Because Brantley had a similar problem with his graphics driver, getting broken or having some display issues with Windows 10. Gotcha. It stopped booting. So, oh, okay. So you got fed up completely with Windows 10 and wanted to go Win 7. All right. So we're no longer talking about a Win 10 scenario. We're talking about a Win 7 scenario. Uh-huh. And what prevented you from proceeding? Because as far as I'm aware, the existing drivers offered by AMD do work with Windows 7 still. Eric says, the issue is that when I load the drivers and ... Sorry about this. We'll have to get it a sentence at a time, but no worries. Yeah, you probably do have to go to the manufacturer's site for the drivers. It is a laptop. Uh-huh. Oh, the manufacturer may no longer support Windows 7. Ah, that could be the case. Maybe that's where you're going here. It says you have the wrong driver. Um, well, you probably do have the wrong driver. Yeah, we need to know the make and model. We need to know the chipset that the video, what specific chipset's integrated for the video, and it could be, okay. Let's see what we can find. Give me one moment if you can bear with a little bit of slowness on this Monday while we assist Eric with his video driver issue. I highly recommend GPUz if you guys haven't used this yet for identifying graphics circuitry or graphics stuff in on your systems. GPUz is really the best way to do it without a doubt. Um, Let me get you guys a link for that. It's offered up by Tech Power Up. They're a very good site for tech news as well. Recommended by me, but I found them to be good. And let's see. Let's get back to finding your information here. It's got the 7970M, it looks like. It looks like, let's see, yeah, A10. I don't care so much about, well, actually, yeah, it is an APU, so the graphics are built in, but I believe that is relevant. 8970, 7970, yeah, I think they're largely the same. They have a way of renaming the same generation over and over again, unfortunately. Let me see let me check out what we can do here.
Michael. Good morning, everyone, by the way.
Morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Oh, I heard the little beep and then I thought you died.
So I'm trying to, AMD offers possibly a driver for laptop cards. Let's see, you're doing Windows 7. So, Eric, none of the ones on that page work. I'm assuming Windows 7 64-bit. None of the drivers work because there's surprisingly these support. I'm going to check these release notes here, but these are supposed to support a large number of mobile chips. Yeah. So if you check this out, it looks like your mobile chip, the 8500M to the 8900M, are all supported. Yeah, I screw a MSI. Whatever. The if you can get the drivers directly from the hardware manufacturer, I would recommend that. While MSI may have put together or assembled the laptop, they did not make the processor, the actual graphics circuitry in it. So any drivers that they have would be probably dated anyway. And they may not be updating Windows 7 support. So I would definitely get it from AMD if you can. Now, this isn't always the case with mobile graphics. A lot of times they use completely separate drivers, but that's getting less and less these days. In fact, I think, as we noted actually probably last week, NVIDIA at least, their new mobile graphics chips are almost virtually identical to the desktop parts. And they're really not scaled down any, and if that, it's simply a clock speed and not a larger architectural difference. Really, I'm using the Crimson drivers, and I have been for a while. The original time I loaded them, the first edition they ever came out with the Crimson, they had a couple of bugs in it, as I recall, but I haven't had an issue with them recently. Hands down, compared to NVIDIA's driver quality, they're probably not quite as good. But they don't usually blue screen my machine. Might you try again, Eric? They just released the 16.8.2 recently. I doubt you've given it a try. It's a new driver. And they may be slower paced than NVIDIA, but they do fix things with each release. Yeah, that's the best thing I can recommend. I would say if you've just reloaded Windows 7, which it sounds like you've done recently, um, and you have updates for that, I would, of course, even though it's probably a horrendous delay in getting those first updates, I would definitely download the latest cumulative update release that Microsoft's put out for Windows 7. That should bring you up to speed a little bit more quickly than via Windows updates. And at that point, try the newest Crimson drivers and see if those will shed some light on a successful boot. Uh, Also, too, I never actually asked for the blue screen, but Windows 7, now, while it doesn't check for the secure boot that Microsoft put in, almost all machines that are sold for, with Windows 10 stickers on them or whatever will uh, probably have that enabled. It's not required for Windows 7, and I recommend turning it off anyway. And so, just as a matter of practice. And if you haven't done it, Eric, previously in the past, go into the EFI and turn UEFI and turn that off. Especially now that the key has been leaked for that, and in case you guys don't remember, in fact, I have the article surprisingly right here. Again, secure boot, not to be confused with our safe boot utility, or boot safe utility rather. Yeah, I agree, Eric, but there are some cases, particularly because the Crimson drivers are written in .NET. There's going to be some situations where you'll need to provide Microsoft updates to .NET or Microsoft just updates in general that are dependencies for those drivers that you're referring to. So it may be an update issue, and I know our choices are getting removed by Microsoft in regards to their now moving to those cumulative updates where you're kind of forced to get all the updates. You can't pick and choose anymore. That's a huge deal, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the news as time goes on. But yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement, Eric. I think everybody here can relate to what you're reporting there, that Microsoft does put out bad updates, and that there's followed by a flurry of quote unquote hot fixes for it. Interestingly enough, I don't know how that's going to change with their new strategy, but they probably will have hot fixes in the case where they do screw something up, I'd imagine, but they're going to be putting out very few individual ones, and it's possible that will slow down certain things. So maybe if you want to look at the glass half full scenario, maybe Microsoft's going to put out fewer questionable ones and are going to bide their time a little bit more, and not rush things out the gate. But that's wishful. Yeah. In other words, yeah, get the framework updates at the minimum prior to moving forward with the Crimson drivers. Like I said, they do depend upon that, so it's likely that a lack of one or more of those updates might present that issue you were having previously. I'm not sure. What did the entire office start laughing? Laughter is good. Laughter is a great way to start the week, of course. I highly recommend it for therapeutic reasons.
Thank you.
Oh, was it something that Nick did? Oh, yeah, I haven't checked the video stream when the third person came in. Am I being cut off at the... Oh, Tank is. Tank's not showing his face anyway, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. Ooh,
It would be something I did. What did I do? I stand on my head?
Me. Sorry about that, guys. I'll bring the video back up. Oh, that's bizarre.
It's always something you did, Michael, or said.
Bringing it back now. Let's see what that looks like. Oh gosh. Oh no, I put the wrong window there. That's not good. Let's move that back. Oh, guys, where is that? Oh, that's right, because it's minimized. There we go. When I hit the minimize, it goes into the little, the little square window in the corner with the one person's head that's talking. I had that issue. So now the stream should look right again. Putting out less unstable updates. Yeah, thanks, Eric. Oh, you've made my Monday. I appreciate that. And the little delay we have is kind of good. It actually almost seems like we're having a straight back and forth. What else? What else? Did you read anything good this week, Nick, in the news? I was
The what?
busy with chores. Did you read anything interesting in tech news this
No.
week, or any news this week? No?
No. I'm busy.
Okay. So there's I got something on my excuse me. I got a cough. 1 second.
Really?
So I have a NASA app on my phone that provides me with NASA imagery, and my camera's dead. Jeez, what is the... So I have got NASA imagery on my phone, and the NASA imagery on my phone showed me what I thought was something weird. It said solar eclipse of 2017, and I looked down and I'm like, it's 2016, and it said August 2017, and I'm like, it's August 2016. Why are we talking about a year in advance? But yeah, a lot of news coming out about this, and I'll post a link. There we go. Apparently people like to get in on this, and there's not, they don't come along as quickly or as frequently as other types of eclipses, but we've got 1 year countdown as of yesterday, So mark your calendars, set your alarms. It looks like the last one that happened was February 26, 1979. And then the next one that will occur after this is April 8th, 2024. Now, while I do hope to be alive in 2024, I imagine the world will be a little bit of a different place by then. Hopefully, some improvements. Yeah, that is maybe something you guys want to get in on, and it's going to be visible. It's going to be visible in the U.S. It's not. It doesn't happen. I mean, this does happen more frequently, but it's not visible for us. So, everyone here, at least, I know Glenn. If you're with us there, sorry about that. You may not be able to get the best view, but yeah, no, Glenn's not, or if he might have been in
I'm
earlier.
sure he's used to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes he can see it when we can't. So, anyway, let's see. Yeah, so I don't know if you care or anybody really cares. This is probably relatively common knowledge, but over 99% of the phones, the smartphones in the world, are iOS and Android, with only 0.6 and 0.1% to Microsoft and BlackBerry. It's surprising that Microsoft um, uh, it's unclear why Microsoft seems to have so much more than BlackBerry. I actually would have kind of considered BlackBerry to have more. Let's see. And if you guys are console gamers, which you're probably not, but PlayStation 4 Slim has got some leaked information there. So go ahead and jump on that if you are into the consoles. If you're into expensive cars, there's some world records at some auctions set for some Shelby Cobras and some Jaguars D-types. Um, One of these was owned by Mr. Shelby himself, apparently. Looks like they went for 21.8 million, I think, for the Jaguar and 13.8 for the Kobe. Kobe for the Cobra. Sorry. This looks like there's some good battery technology coming along, which looks like it'll double what we currently see with lithium ion. Let's see. Yeah. Interesting. This one is lithium metal foil. So that might be something we'll see some about. And it lacks an anode. It's anode free. That's just weird. I don't. Is that possible? But you had to have an anode and a cathode. But I haven't read the details, so welcome, Mr. Proctor. How are you doing this fine morning?
I'm doing okay. How are y'all?
Very, very well.
Spectacular.
So, would you believe? Oh God. So that game, No Man's Sky, I was actually considering buying it because I thought it was popular and I like the idea of a procedurally generated universe as large as that, and I also like the idea of an MMO where I didn't have to run into people. Actually, I had played Eve in the past, and that had some of those features in it, and that was compelling. But No Man's Sky has apparently lost 78% of its player base in the first week on Steam.
Oh wow.
Okay, sorry, Eric. I gotta get back to what was Eric talking about here? Let's see. Yeah, so Eric, he's telling you to get so there's a PCIdatabase.com and some other sites like it can help you look up the vendor IDs and the part numbers for the hardware you have in your computer. It's a great way to start when you have no idea and you can't physically find or see inside the computer to otherwise determine what parts you got. It's really useful for going down that route. But uh, let's see. What do you mean by turning off UEFI exactly, Eric? Could you elaborate on turning it off? What you mean by that? Because there's compatibility modes that UEFI offers to allow you to boot things like Windows 7 and earlier operating systems, but there's not really an on-off as you are describing it, not as far as I recall. So I'd like to know exactly what you did there, because that does, depending upon the compatibility mode that you may have set, may actually affect your video card. Video card BIOSes now, some of them, depend upon UEFI, and there may not be a way around that. I was hoping that's not the case, but again, if the machine was sold with a Windows 10 logo.
Where did you hear that?
Hmm?
Where did you hear that video cards depend on?
No, they can. So for instance, there's some UEFI code that has to be in the video card's BIOS to allow it to boot on a UEFI only machine. And the manufacturer of those BIOSes can choose to include which one they want, that code or the older code or both of those things. And almost always they do both, certainly in desktop. But a laptop that has a Windows 10 logo may make a compromise in that regard. But anyway, you can check. You can use GPUz to check to see if your video card has UEFI compatibility. Okay, yeah, the boot settings. Yeah, the boot settings. Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's probably fine. Were there more than one option for that? Was there more than one option for that, or was it just one way or the other, Eric? The same thing applies Win 8 and Win 10 as far as the stuff in UEFI, Eric. So, um, yeah, it still applies what I said. Okay. Alrighty. Well, let's hope that that's not the issue, that BIOS thing that that I mentioned. Um, but I, I, I really, I haven't seen that in practice yet. So it's okay. And did you try UEFI plus CS, or did you just go from UEFI to Legacy? Hmm. What's the CS? I forget what that is. Oh yeah, he posted the ID. Let's see. Device ID is 990B. Okay. Looks like Rover's helping you more quickly than I can, but let's see. But Eric, looking up the vendor IDs and the device IDs for that information that you posted there is it's important to know. Oh, it's not listed there. Interesting. search.
You know, honestly, I'd be more interested on the why it just stopped booting Windows 10.
Well, yeah, that's actually a good point, Brantley. There may be a bigger issue here. But you had video driver problems too, so, you know,
Yeah, but not to where it just stops booting my system. Because I've even looked, like, even installing Linux on some of these Windows 10 laptops is almost impossible. They've really messed up the hardware with that, I feel, and added little to no security features. It's kind of a terrible, terrible change they've made.
Eric, I couldn't locate that device ID there that you provided. So I'm a little bit unclear about that, about the specific part in question for your laptop, but Rover did provide an alternative link, although I don't know that I've ever used that site. I hope that's safe, Rover.
But this also does make it so I feel much better about having given up on AMD entirely. Not to make this a worse situation for you, Eric, but Michael's still hanging on to his AMD stuff, and I just don't see it.
So as we wait for that, let's see what else is out there.
Stop.
But that would be another good question, Eric. Have you tried or thought about going to Mint or something of that effect? Red Hat.
So it's a big jump if you're not used to it, but that's good. You could do it.
I mean, really not that big a jump. If you want to go to 7, Mint is almost just like 7, so you can do most everything through the interface nowadays. And it runs virtual machines real well.
It does. It does. Yep.
I guess you may be using that one for a gaming laptop, possibly. That might.
Yeah. It was a laptop that was marketed for that purpose. So.
Yeah, gaming laptop. Yeah, it's also.
What is the CS? I mean, I just, Eric, if you run out of options, there's some things you can try, like, trying the graphics drivers after switching to UEFI CS, if my weird off-the-wall theory is possibly valid. It may not be, though, but it's something to try. Yeah, just different drivers. And maybe checking out if you know anybody else, or if you can find anybody else that has the laptop in Windows 7.
Oh, just wanted to throw out a plug for PlayOnLinux, which is sort of like a wine thing for games. We know a guy, a developer on that project.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like you can't, I mean, totally understand wanting to stick Windows for that, but something to experiment with.
No Man's Sky doesn't have a Linux port, and they say it runs fairly well on Wine, but you do have to configure it a little bit. So configure wine a little bit.
Yeah, that's it's sometimes there's a good compatibility, but that little bit of tinkering, if they could just remove that, so you could just play a game immediately, I think that would open up the base. People
That's
like
what PlayOnLinux
Eric
is
who
about.
haven't. Is it? Okay, I haven't looked into
Yeah,
that.
it's not like a wine. It's not wine. It's different, but it's like that.
Let's see if I can find a link for that so I can look into it.
Awesome.
But it's kind of a wine extension. It sets things up and runs stuff on wine for you, but gives you all the scripts and everything to do it fairly quickly and easily.
Oh,
This is yeah, Michael, you got it.
so it's an entire distribution.
No, you can just install just that.
Really? Really? Oh yeah. Okay. Well, no, it just comes as an ISO. Well, I'm just seeing ISOs, but anyway.
I don't even know how you can figure that out when you get the wrong URL.
That's true. You are looking at something completely different, Michael. I didn't even catch that.
It's like even. Sheesh.
Is that like a kitty Linux place or?
It looked like just desktops or something to me. It was a background.
Oh, what is the right link?
The one that Nick posted.
Okay.
Good morning, Michael. It's PlayOnLinux.com for you listeners.
So profits.
Yeah, so this the one that Michael posted looks like it's just a distribution that's geared and focused on PlayOnLinux, but yeah, the real PlayOnLinux you can put on any of the distros. And it does help. I mean, it's not just for games either. They help you install other applications and things as well. It worked pretty well for me in the ones that I wanted to use it for. Because Wine is really awesome. It's just, it's not that easy to set up or configure as you need it to be.
Yeah. So that distribution, that Play distribution, doesn't support AMD laptops. So my guess is that and AMD graphics driver support under Linux is pretty bad. Actually, I take that back. Open source, they're not too bad, but there's usually the gaming distributions tend to focus on the NVIDIA drivers and the closed source ones, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, you may run into some issues with Linux drivers too for game support. I don't know if that's the best option for him.
I said it was something to check out, not to do.
And like I said, just give up on AMD. Sell it to somebody that doesn't play games. And get a real NVIDIA graphics card and Intel chipset and processor.
I eventually went to that mentality. I didn't used to be like that.
I didn't either. When
you have to.
Yeah, when it was worth it and they worked really well and they were blowing Intel out of the water,
Yeah, I was a big AMD fan back when their processors were equal or better performance and prices were lower.
ATI was the same way, and then AMD bought them up, and now they've come this just terrible. It's terrible. They're not keeping up at all. They're not even playing catch up very well.
You missed it earlier, Brantley. There's a report that No Man's Sky lost 78% of its player base since it
that's because
peak. Yeah.
everybody had to start doing stuff again. Like, they spent an entire weekend playing it afterwards, and then they couldn't do that next weekend because
So
they
does
had
this
to deal
happen with
with
every MMO like that?
possibly. I don't know. I don't play MMOs. They also released a patch that fixed 70% of their stuff within the first week. Did you report on that?
No. There were a ton of player provided. Was it actually from the manufacturer though, the patches, or was this provided from the community?
The server side was updated for all of it.
I just had heard a report about the players coming together to put out things that apparently resolved the gripes that they had, but I guess you're talking about actual bugs and performance things and stuff like that, server related. So, anybody want bargain for the first Apple? Only $270,000. But
For what?
The Apple One.
No.
Why would you want that?
Because it's worth over $1 million at auction, apparently.
Yeah, so not only were the developers listening to everywhere that people were complaining about, they fixed it within 3 patches for 70% of their complaints. And now they're working on not only the remaining 30%, but also adding new
I don't understand why people can't wait to release a game till it's done. You know, I'm just gonna put the people through that held up first.
programs are never done.
Yeah.
You may think they're done, and then you let thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people use it, and you realize it's not done. And this is a game that they were not going to be done. They were going to continue to add new features to it as it progressed.
Oh, you know what? I do vaguely remember hearing something like that from the developers. So maybe that's
Well, kind of like we were talking about last time, the previews not living up to the movies, the actual like film. That's kind of what happens with the No Man's Sky.
Did they have did its trailer have things? I don't think the trailer had things that the game didn't have, though. I mean, I thought.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that the.
Really? I mean, I haven't played.
The biggest one is there's no huge crash site to explore. I didn't even see the first trailer, and when they showed me a screenshot of that, I was like, "That is not in the game." I am upset that that's not in the game. Really? Like they had like a picture of a massive freighter crash land on a planet, and like you could go explore around it and stuff. Man, that'd be awesome.
Are you still liking the game though, Brantley?
I enjoy it. I mean, there's still it. I can see where people would get tired of the tediousness of it. I talked to a friend in Greenville about it, and he likes it as well. But he made a good point about it, is that instead of calling it No Man's Sky, it should have been Space Resource Hunter, because basically you're mining resource, or Space Resource Miner, because you're mining resources for majority of your time. and then selling it to get money so that you can do other things. So I can see how people get tired of doing that. And I mean, it's definitely not something I sit there and play for all weekend anymore. But the first time it was fun, but now I'm only casually playing it, and it's fun to just get away to a new world, new places. You see new things everywhere you go, so I enjoy it. And I haven't even done like a fourth of what you can do in the game yet, so I think it's pretty awesome. I only just recently got into my first space battle before I had to head out. So.
Oh, I don't care. It's one of the reasons I actually was thinking about playing the game was because I do like the idea of an MMO where I never have to run into another person. Having
But I mean,
70% of the
that's
user
the
base
same in
leave is
MMOs. That's why people made bots, is to gather resources and stuff, so and make money without actually having to do it. But I kind
essentially
of
the
find
same
that
way in
as part of
Eve.
the fun, like figuring out how to make money the fastest
I mean,
is.
space RPGs are often about that, resource building. It's not really RPGs per se, but I mean, you gain experience in RPGs, you gain resources in the space. It's simulation, sure. Um, I don't know, but it seems like it's very similar concepts. But what do I know?
I mean, people play games to kind of escape reality. So if they, if you're playing a game and it's more like a job than a game, then it loses its fun factor.
Yeah. But I mean, I like it because as I'm going through getting resources and stuff, I'm like checking out the places and finding new things and adventuring, kind of.
Yeah, if they make that process interesting, then that's cool.
Yeah,
I'm
like
still afraid to play it. I'm afraid I'll never leave my without playing it.
it's like I'll end up landing to mine a huge emerald rock, and before I'll get in my ship, I'll end up like hitting 5 or 6 other spots before, and then get back in my ship and fly and find another emerald spot in mine. But and that too, like maybe people are just mining everything and not doing it efficiently, where you're focused on what you need to get and get a whole bunch of it while you're on that planet and can get it easily and then sell it off real quick. So I don't know. I still think it's fun, and I am not in that 78%. But I mean, too, that I didn't play for the past 5 days, so I was considered in that drop off. I'm checking out this site that Rover posted here.
Oh, it's interesting. How would you maintain the concept of the secret ballot with internet-based voting?
How so?
I mean, the ISP knows who the customer is, so nothing secret about that. In other words, I mean, I don't know. I mean, just so let's say, I mean, you make some sort of encrypted VPN.
I mean,
I
yeah,
don't know.
some sort of crazy encryption for the web page that you're visiting. Whatever would that be? HTTPS?
No, but it can't be encrypted 100%. I mean, there's gonna eventually be
It's going to show that you connected to the site, but it's not going to capture the data of who you voted for. Same thing as you went to a voting poll. They know you were there. They saw you go in.
Hmm. Yeah, and every router along the way that does inspects might do packet inspection too. I don't know. I just think there's. And what about a hack?
And breaking the HTTPS encryption.
Yeah, it's happened. I don't know. It's just something I never thought about before.
It does seem like that would make it more difficult to guarantee voter identity.
Well, I mean, you know, that's not even touching that question. Yeah, I mean, so. And then when you actually do confirm their identity, then you get back to the problem I'm talking about. Right? So we don't know who you are if we do the encryption, but we lose the secret ballot option if we don't. And what are they going to do? Have you type in your social security number? It's not like people don't have your social security number, you know. Fuck, my mom knows all her children's social security numbers, so she could easily throw the vote for 6 people, basically, and well, 5 people other than herself. I'm not implying that she would, but you know what?
I mean, one way to combat that would be if if you go to vote and it says you've already voted and you haven't voted, then you know something fraudulent happened. Investigate.
Oh yeah, and that's gonna
But if you're
come
voting
to
for a bunch of dead people, then they're
So
not
you go out on
gonna
election
realize they
day.
didn't vote.
You go out on election day, and this happens to you. You think you're gonna have time?
Don't get excited, Michael.
You think you're gonna have time before the polls close to get that problem resolved?
Oh, I didn't say you're going to get the problem resolved that quickly, but
Okay, well that's
you know
gonna
what happened.
you're gonna be throwing out truckloads of votes that you're gonna be throwing them away basically. If you really don't want somebody's vote to count, then that's what that'll do.
For all you road rage people out there, there's a bunch of memes for you.
Here's here's an article on scam that we get possibly frequently in our tickets about people asking for improvements in search engine optimization. Getting your site ranked better.
Offering it or asking for it?
Offering it, but they're scams largely apparently, or there's some big ones going around. I don't know. I didn't read the whole article, so read it first.
Naturally.
All right. We got anything else? Just dead air.
I'm done.
Going to roll out a 7.2 modules update with the new little app later on today, probably.
Sweet.
Got a we had that ticket request. The guy wanted a feature to go through D72's configs and grab all of the download URLs that would be used by D72 or his custom apps.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did we lose
Oh,
touch?
gee.
Shoot, jeez.
That's like super easy with the D7X code config class that I wrote, and so I was like, shoot, that'll only take a few minutes, and yeah. So I'm not going to modify the D72 code to add a feature to that. I'm just going to push out a separate little executable in the modules directory as an update for that.
Sweet.
That's all.
Cool. Good stuff.
I've developed some weird bruising on my arm, and my allergy problem is getting worse.
Thank you for that update on.
Any doctors out there?
All right. Well, let's get to it, and thank everyone for joining us. Michael, you want to wrap it up since I missed all the intro and everything?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks, Eric. Give us an update if you don't mind on that video card issue. It's interesting. Thanks, Rover, for working with him and us and providing all those useful links to help. And thank you everyone for listening. We'll be here tomorrow at 10 a.m., I believe. We usually do at least an hour, and we're here to talk about our software and services primarily, but we'll talk about other things if we don't get any questions in that regard. So please join us in the chat. We love the back and forth, and we love the contributions, and that's what makes this special every day, is you guys. So thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow. FoolishTechShow.com. Thanks. Stopping Twitch. And stopping YouTube.